Late at night while most of Oxnard was probably fast asleep, the Dallas Cowboys were quietly making moves behind the scenes, adding a new name to their roster. That may not be familiar to most fans, but fits exactly the mold the team has been targeting. For years at the cornerback position, Christian Matthew is now officially part of the Cowboys family after impressing the coaching staff in a recent workout, edging out a handful of other hopefuls to earn this spot. For those who haven't followed his career closely, Christian Matthew isn't a household name. He's more of a journeyman player, one of those guys who has fought hard for every snap and every opportunity in the NFL. But what the Cowboys seem to like is his physical profile, the traits that align perfectly with their traditional cornerback archetype: tall, lanky, long arms, solid athleticism, and enough speed and explosiveness to hold his own on the outside. Christian's path to this point has been far from straightforward. Unlike many of the star players we hear about who come from the big-name programs and dominate headlines at the Combine, Matthew carved his journey through smaller schools, grinding it out at Georgia Southern before transferring to Samford and finally landing at Valdosta State, a program not exactly known for pumping out NFL talent. That long college career speaks to his perseverance and determination, traits that teams value, especially when filling out the roster during this crucial training camp stretch. Although Matthew's name didn't come up in many draft guides or big scouting reports when he was selected, he did get picked in the draft, a testament to his raw potential and physical tools. He spent his early professional years with the Arizona Cardinals, where he earned some starts and showed flashes of what he could do, breaking up a few passes and generally holding his own in coverage. Over the course of his career, he's appeared in about 20 NFL games, mostly contributing on special teams and stepping in when injuries hit. His career numbers might not jump off the page: 14 receptions allowed on 21 targets, no touchdowns given up, and a handful of pass breakups. But that's exactly the kind of steady, unspectacular presence that can be vital on a team dealing with roster turmoil and injuries. The Cowboys facing exactly that situation, with multiple corners either sidelined on the physically unable to perform list or nursing injuries, clearly saw Christian Matthew as a practical addition. This signing isn't about instantly fixing their secondary woes or plugging a glaring hole in the starting lineup. It's a smart, low-risk move to add depth, give the coaches more options in practice and preseason, and keep the competition heated as the team sorts through who will survive the roster cuts. With guys like Trayvon Diggs still recovering and others like Don Bland and Kalen Eluim not quite at full strength, the Cowboys' cornerback room suddenly looks thin. That's where a player like Matthew comes in, not a star, not a savior, but a valuable piece to carry the load when the team needs bodies to get through the grind of camp. Physically, Matthew checks the boxes the Cowboys love. He's around 6'2", with arms over 33 inches long and a wingspan that helps him contest catches against bigger receivers. His combined numbers reflect solid speed, running the 40-yard dash in just over 4.5 seconds, and he posted a respectable vertical jump. His agility drills, while not elite, show he has enough quickness to stay competitive on the outside, even if he's not suited for the nickel corner role, which typically demands more twitch and flexibility. That's another key point. The Cowboys see him primarily as an outside cornerback, someone who can line up against the bigger, more physical receivers on the perimeter. Given his size and length, he fits the traditional profile the team has favored for years. It's important to be realistic here. Matthew is unlikely to leapfrog established starters or veterans on the depth chart to secure a spot on the 53-man roster. But there is a path forward in carving out a role on the practice squad where he can continue to develop and be ready if injuries strike deeper into the season. For now, this signing is about bolstering numbers and creating competition, something every NFL team needs during training camp and the preseason grind. What makes this move interesting beyond just roster management is how it reflects the challenges the Cowboys face in their secondary. This offseason and into camp, injuries have piled up. Trayvon Diggs remains on the physically unable to perform list, and his timeline for a return remains uncertain. Don Bland, a promising young corner, missed practice after welcoming a child into his family, further limiting the team's healthy options. Meanwhile, Kalen Eluim and Savon Revel have both battled injuries, leaving the cornerback room thin and forcing coaches to shuffle players in ways they might not have planned. Add to that the uncertainty surrounding Andrew Booth, who showed flashes but also dealt with injuries during camp, and suddenly the depth chart is looking precarious. The Cowboys have a handful of other players competing for snaps, but many of those guys have limited experience or have not yet solidified their standing. Bruce Harmon and Troy Pride have yet to make a major impact, while Robert Rochelle, another cornerback picked up in recent years, is still trying to prove he belongs. The team has options, but also faces tough decisions, especially as they get closer to the deadline to trim the roster. Christian Matthew's arrival may not solve these problems, but it gives the Cowboys an extra body. Someone who can step in and fill the gap during practice and possibly in preseason games. It's a move rooted in pragmatism and nod to the reality of the NFL grind where injuries happen, and teams need depth to stay competitive through the long haul of a season. Looking at the bigger picture, the Cowboys' approach with Matthew shows how they balance building a competitive roster with managing the realities of camp battles and injury challenges. They are not searching for a game changer here. Instead, they are focused on ensuring they have enough players to push starters in practice, keep the level high in preseason, and avoid overworking their key defenders before the regular season even begins. For Christian Matthew, this is a crucial opportunity to make an impression, a chance to show the coaching staff that he can rise above the label of a journeyman, that he can be more than a camp body. The team's history with players who seize moments like these is well known. Sometimes it only takes a handful of solid reps in practice or preseason snaps to earn a more permanent role. Matthew's size and athleticism give him a foundation, but it will be his work ethic and ability to absorb coaching that determine if he sticks around. While the Cowboys have yet to announce who they will release to make room for Matthew, it's clear that someone will have to go. The roster limit forces difficult choices, and with multiple positions battling for spots, the front office will weigh who can contribute most immediately and who might be better off getting more time on the practice squad or elsewhere. All eyes will be on training camp and the next few preseason games to see how this cornerback room shapes up. Injuries and performance will dictate who makes the cut, and players like Matthew will have to make the most of every chance. It's a reminder of how brutal and competitive NFL rosters can be. One day you're working out on your own, the next you're battling to earn a spot on one of the league's biggest teams. Ultimately, this signing encapsulates the grind of the NFL offseason, the constant jockeying for position, and the hope that the next underdog can become the next valuable contributor. For fans watching from home, it's a chance to keep an eye on a player who might just surprise us all. As the Dallas Cowboys move through training camp, it becomes clear just how critical depth is, especially in a position group as vital and injury-prone as cornerback. The team has had to deal with a slew of injuries and setbacks that have left the secondary vulnerable. The signing of Christian Matthew underscores the reality that the Cowboys are not only managing talent but also managing the grind and physical toll that football takes on these athletes over a grueling summer and preseason schedule. Cornerbacks in particular face the daily challenge of matching up with some of the league's most talented receivers in practice, running routes at full speed and battling for every inch of turf. The physical and mental demands are immense, and staying healthy is almost as important as skill. With players like Trayvon Diggs still sidelined due to injury, the Cowboys find themselves thin at the position. Diggs, one of the brightest young defensive backs on the roster, has been a game changer when healthy, but his ongoing absence leaves a glaring hole in the secondary. The uncertainty surrounding his availability not only affects the team's defensive schemes, but also places more pressure on the other corners to step up and fill the void. Alongside him, Don Bland's time away, whether for personal reasons or injury, leaves yet another gap. Bland is a player with potential, someone the Cowboys have invested in, and his limited participation in team drills highlights just how fragile the roster can be when key players are out. The health status of Kyler Elumola, or Kyler Eluim as many fans call him, adds to the question marks. Eluim has been a pleasant surprise in camp so far, showing flashes of potential and athleticism that could translate into a meaningful role. However, the lingering nature of his condition and his ability to stay on the field remain to be seen. Injuries like these can have ripple effects throughout a team's preparation and game planning, forcing coaches to adjust depth charts and rotate players more than they might prefer. Every missed practice is a lost opportunity to build chemistry and timing, which are crucial for defensive backs tasked with covering elite NFL receivers. Save on Revel's situation is another puzzle piece in this complex picture. Currently on the non-football injury list, Revel is a player who has shown promise, but hasn't yet had the chance to prove himself fully due to various setbacks. His timeline for return is still weeks away, which means the Cowboys need to plan for the short term without counting on his availability. In the NFL, patience is often a luxury, and teams have to balance the desire to develop young talent with the immediate need to field a competitive roster every week. Revel's recovery timeline forces the Cowboys to be pragmatic and explore options like signing Christian Matthew to maintain sufficient numbers. The injuries to Kalen Carson and Andrew Booth further complicate matters. Carson's current status is uncertain due to an injury that kept him out of practice, while Booth, who had been showing some promising development with good practice days, also experienced a setback limiting his participation. These absences highlight how thin the Cowboys' cornerback room is, especially when multiple players are sidelined simultaneously. It creates a scenario where the margin for error is slim, and depth players must be ready at a moment's notice. The team cannot afford to take any players for granted or assume that everyone will stay healthy throughout camp and preseason. Looking at the depth chart, the Cowboys are juggling a number of players trying to prove their worth beyond the obvious names. There are young players like Troy Pride and Bruce Harmon, who are still trying to find their footing. Pride has shown flashes during practice, but consistency and durability remain concerns. Harmon, on the other hand, hasn't received as many reps or the spotlight, which makes his chances of making the roster less certain. Meanwhile, Robert Rochelle, who was picked up in a previous offseason, is working hard to impress coaches and carve out a role. The competition is fierce in every practice, and preseason snap counts as players fight to avoid being cut as teams prepare to reduce their rosters from around 90 players down to just 53. By the start of the regular season, one interesting aspect is the Cowboys' long-standing preference for cornerbacks with certain physical traits. The team consistently seeks out players who are tall, long-limbed, and have a good combination of speed and agility. Christian Matthew fits that archetype perfectly. His height combined with his arm length and overall athleticism makes him a prototype for what the Cowboys look for at the position. While he may not have elite agility, his size and speed allow him to match up physically with many of the wide receivers he'll face, especially on the outside, where physicality and length can be as valuable as quickness. This preference reflects the Cowboys' defensive philosophy, which often involves press coverage and physical play at the line of scrimmage, attempting to disrupt routes and leverage size advantages. Matthews' NFL Combine numbers illustrate why the Cowboys value him. Clocking a 4.5 per second 40-yard dash shows he has the speed to keep up with many receivers, and a vertical leap of 41.5 inches speaks to his explosiveness and ability to contest high passes. The 7.23 second cone drill time, while not elite, is still respectable and suggests he has enough agility to maneuver in coverage. What stands out is his 33.5-inch arm length, a trait that can frustrate receivers and tip passes away when used effectively. The Cowboys' love for this kind of physical profile is no secret, and their history shows. They're willing to take chances on players who fit this mold, hoping that the right coaching and system can maximize their strengths. Despite his physical tools, it's important to set expectations for what Matthew can realistically contribute. He's unlikely to become a starting corner or a defensive back who drastically changes the trajectory of the Cowboys' secondary this season. His career thus far has been marked by short stints and special teams contributions, rather than consistent starting roles. But in a league where injuries are common and depth is crucial, players like Matthew can provide valuable insurance. They push starters in practice, fill in when necessary, and keep the team moving forward through the grueling 17-game season. Looking ahead, the Cowboys will have to make tough decisions to fit Matthew onto the roster. Someone will need to be cut or moved to injured reserve to open up a spot, with several players competing for limited places. These roster moves are always difficult, balancing potential experience and positional needs. For fans watching, it will be interesting to see which players are on the bubble and how the team manages its personnel moving forward. The preseason games will be especially important for fringe players like Matthew to showcase their skills in live action and make a compelling case to coaches. At the same time, the Cowboys must continue to monitor the recovery progress of their injured corners. Trayvon Diggs' return timeline remains one of the most significant unknowns, as his presence would immediately bolster the secondary. Similarly, the health of Don Bland, Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth, and Savon Revel will shape the team's defensive plans. Staying healthy is always a challenge, and the Cowboys' front office, medical staff, and coaching personnel are working to ensure the team is as prepared as possible, balancing risk and reward. Christian Matthew's story is a classic example of perseverance in professional football. From a long college career spanning multiple schools to navigating the difficult landscape of NFL rosters and practice squads, he has kept pushing for an opportunity. Joining the Cowboys provides a new chapter and a chance to prove that his size, speed, and work ethic can translate into a role on one of the league's most storied teams. While the odds may not be in his favor to make the active roster immediately, the practice squad or a future call-up during the season remains within reach if he performs well. The signing also highlights the ongoing reality of NFL football, where many talented players fight for limited spots and teams constantly adjust their rosters based on injuries, performance, and strategic needs. For Cowboys fans, it's a reminder that beyond the stars and household names, there is a depth of players grinding behind the scenes, ready to seize any opportunity that comes their way. As training camp continues, all eyes will remain on the cornerback room to see how the roster shapes up. The hope is that the team's depth can hold up through the preseason, and that injured players return healthy and ready to contribute. Christian Matthews' addition adds one more piece to this complex puzzle, a piece that may not grab headlines, but could prove valuable in helping the Cowboys navigate a demanding NFL season. In the end, the story of Christian Matthews is about more than just one signing. It's about the relentless effort and determination required to succeed at the highest level of football. It's about the unseen battles fought on practice fields and in meetings, the small victories that can lead to bigger opportunities. And for the Dallas Cowboys, it's one of many moves aimed at building a competitive, resilient team, ready to take on the challenges of the 2025 NFL season. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are swirling through the NFL world as word breaks that CeeDee Lamb, the Dallas Cowboys star wide receiver, may be on the verge of exiting the iconic Texas franchise. While nothing has been officially confirmed, sources close to the player and the team suggest that discussions about Lamb's future in Dallas are heating up, sparking a frenzy of speculation among fans, analysts, and insiders alike. Lamb, who has been a bright spot for the Cowboys since his arrival, is reportedly considering new opportunities as contract talks reportedly reach an impasse. The 2023 season saw Lamb delivering solid performances, reinforcing his status as one of the league's elite receivers, but the buzz now suggests that his relationship with the Cowboys might be approaching a turning point. The possibility of Lamb requesting a trade or even testing free agency has ignited a wave of rumors, leaving Dallas faithful on edge about the future composition of their offense. Industry insiders hint that the Cowboys front office is weighing their options carefully. On one hand, they recognize Lamb's immense talent and the key role he plays in the team's offensive schemes. On the other, financial considerations and roster strategies might be pushing management to contemplate a bold move. Meanwhile, other NFL teams are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, ready to swoop in if the opportunity to acquire a top-tier receiver like Lamb rises. The potential departure of CeeDee Lamb would not only shake up the Cowboys roster, but could also have ripple effects across the league. For a team known for its passionate fan base and high expectations, losing a player of Lamb's caliber would be a major storyline heading into the offseason. Fans have already taken to social media to express mixed feelings, some hoping for a resolution that keeps their star shining in Dallas, others bracing for a new chapter without him. As the story develops, experts are dissecting what this move could mean for Lamb's career trajectory.